Real men of genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr.
Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. I want to have a serious talk in this video about something that I'm seeing that's becoming quite pervasive in the less lethal community. And that is the idea of, and it's a topic I've talked about before. It's not just more lethal, less lethal, but the idea of less lethal. The reason why that resonates with the broader community and in general the lay public is that it's the less part. People want less. They want to be able to say, okay, yeah, I'm using an approach that is less lethal. It is we're trying to bring the power down from a lethal weapon, and we're trying to be we're not trying to kill. We don't even want to maim. We're trying to deter someone by hitting them with something that will induce pain compliance. We want them to go away. We don't want long-term disability. We don't want to be a victim of a lawsuit. These are the kind of things that we think of as less lethal, and I think that's the publicly acceptable. That's the palatable version that everyone accepts. But as soon as you start cranking up the power, and everyone does it, but once you get to the point where you're going for the more part, I want more pain, more damage, I want penetration, I want to try to mimic a ballistics of a firearm. As soon as you start doing that, you've crossed a line, and you now bring the entire community into the spotlight. And it's a one-way road. What's going to happen is you're going to end up with regulations of the community. You're going to destroy the ability to shoot these things at home. And you're going to end up like a country like Canada. A great place. I love to go there. It's a very safe country. I like Canada a lot, but it is not a place where you can protect yourself with a firearm. It's not a place where you can protect yourself with a paintball gun. You have very limited options. Yeah, you can modify them, you can play with them in your house, but it's all in the darkness of your private property. If you ever have to use it for personal protection and you pull that trigger, you'll be prosecuted. So it's just as simple as that. We don't want to go there. If we're in the United States or you're in another country where it's not as draconian, I think you want to protect that right, and you don't want that to be encroached upon. There's already enough regulation on our firearms, but our less lethals is kind of the area that we want hands off. That's the one area where you don't expect to be targeted. The key point is that in my opinion, you should be using a blunt object, and that's best a round ball. Now, the one thing I like about the Grimburg HP68 is it is essentially a round ball. It just has a shaped end for the air to push it, and maybe a little more accurate because of the rifling. But it still hits with a very blunt end, just like a round ball. So I like round balls and I like blunt end. And I think if you ever have to use one of these and you're talking to the police afterwards, and they see, okay, you making the effort to use something that's branded as a less lethal launcher, and you're using something that is a blunt, you clearly have the intent to punch, but not to cause long-term serious damage. You're not trying to maim someone where there is literally damage that will never be corrected. You're trying to resolve the situation in the least lethal way possible. Of course, less lethal can go all the way up and be lethal, and certainly if you hit someone in the head or you have unfortunate situation, things can happen. But it shows intent that you are making the effort to de-escalate the force. As soon as you go buying labeled projectiles that are labeled as real bullets or devastating or killer, these are things that are just big red flags. And as soon as you use one of those and it's available, and these things are not gonna, they're gonna be at the crime scene. Even though you are the victim of a person attacking you, use these. If you cause serious damage, you maim or kill someone, they're gonna look at the projectile. The projectile is gonna say you have intent. If it's a pointy projectile with a metal tip, if it's got a spike, if it's just the name, even though it might be slightly blunt on the end, even if it's got a scary name, the prosecutors will latch on to those names and they will absolutely use those against you. Every shot you fire may have an attorney attached to it. It's a common phrase, but it's absolutely true. And that's true of less lethal and it's true of firearm bullets. So a part of it is marketing. I know that people want to use those kind of names because it evokes some sort of feeling that it's a more powerful, but at the end of the day, the reality is you want to stick to something that is blunt. And you don't want to be penetrating in the body at all. That's not a goal, and it shouldn't be something that we never want to equate. When we talk about breaking an inanimate object that we're shooting for practice and demo purposes, like a piece of wood, like a piece of metal, like a piece of some sort of composite material, and we see it break or we see penetration, in no way, shape, or form should that be interpreted as, okay, that is our goal and that's what we're trying to do is penetrate into a person. You can, under certain situations with high enough force, you can penetrate the skin and you can embed these into the body of a person. That's not our goal, and that's to be avoided at all costs, because that is a lawsuit waiting to happen, and you're better off just to use these in the right way. It's better for you, it's better for the community, and really stick with what's reliable. No one is going to fault you for that. That's a good thing. But if you make mods to your system and you make it so powerful that you approach or you match firearm ballistics, even if it's a round projectile and you're putting it through ballistic gel at a firearm ballistic level, that will be used against you, and that's a no in terms of my opinion. I think you're just asking for regulation, and less lethal community is, at this point, at least in the United States, we're relatively unregulated. Most of the states, and there are clearly states where they classify it as a firearm. And so that doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, once people start making these things into lethal weapons, you essentially did something that is a lethal weapon that could be used for bad things. It could be used for self-defense, but they have no one has a record that you own that, and you have created it from scratch. And regardless of how you feel about 2A, that doesn't fly very well with most governments, and that's where we get into trouble. So it's better just to do it the right way for the sake of everyone. And I hope that's clear. I don't think it's really hard to understand why the concept of less lethal came about and why it is focused on less. Getting by with the minimal amount of force that you need for the situation and not anything more. But you got to make sure you use the right amount of force for that situation. I absolutely feel that there is a certain floor of force where it's not going to do anything, and then that seems to be the area where 20 joules or lower, where these companies are trying to say, well, this is for weak launchers, but we can make a projectile that's pointy or hard or heavy, and that's going to now make up the difference, and that's going to suddenly make it very effective. Well, at those levels of power, you're just going to annoy someone, and you're gonna stimulate being sued by someone. And at the very higher levels of power, you're crossing a line, and now you're becoming a lethal weapon, and you're making a big mistake there. So the middle ground is where it's at. Too low, you're not accomplishing anything, and in fact, you're just inviting financial problems. Up here at the top part, you're having civil and criminal problems. So keep it right in the middle. There is a safe zone in the middle, and that's the happy medium that this field and this community should strive to stay within, and not be outrageous in terms of some of the things that they want to promote. It can backfire, and just a warning for the community. So that's all I have to say about this topic for now. I'm sure that it'll come back around, because this is something that will never die. Absolutely, there are just too many people that are profiting from this, who have an incentive to mislead or to misguide people. And there are people that can't own firearms, who absolutely are looking for alternatives that can match the power, and that's not necessarily the right move. So I know it's a controversial topic. I know that some people are going to say does not agree, but I'm just telling you, this is the reality that we live in this world, and we will end up with regulations of these at some point if we do not watch our language, if we do not watch what we put out on YouTube, the types of videos that we promote, the kind of videos that we subscribe to. If we encourage this type of activity, we're not helping the community. We're ultimately leading to its demise. And so just keep these very important points in mind, and I'm happy to hear your comments. Let me know below. I want to discuss these topics so that we can all be on the same page. So I'll leave it at that. Everybody have a good one, and take care, and we'll see you in the next one.